Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Hope everyone is survived, and we'll see what's happening here as we get into the round of 16. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Mark. For those of you that are new, I think we're gonna have a little bit of friendly faces just waiting around. Let's see who all comes into the chat. Wait for this chat to fill up. Appreciate you guys. It was a kind of hit or miss weekend. We had a couple big boom days and one really bad day as we kind of rounded out the 4 days of betting. So it was a fun one, but we're going to talk about these games. It's not going to be my full breakdown. I just wanted to have a little back and forth with you guys, see how the brackets are shaping up. So wait for a few more people to get into the chat before we get it going. All right, we got 7 people in here. Maybe if we get closer to 20, we'll start getting into it. So how you guys doing? We got Rich in the chat. Jeff, what's going on, man? Avery, I can't wait for it. I'm starting a lot of MLB kind of behind the scenes stuff, but it's not been. I don't really get into the Tokyo overseas early action like other people, but it's coming. We're a little bit of ways. So I'm more likely just doing right now power rankings, some futures bets, looking into as well as like awards, win totals, stuff like that. So I'm gonna get one of those going. For some reason, these lives don't take off as much as when I do the vertical live on my phone. Zach, MLB Mark, yeah, don't jinx it. I probably had my worst betting day ever. Giving out picks. I believe it was on Friday. I'm not sure, but yeah, just hey, it happens, right? Thanks for coming in, guys. We got 10 people now. More if you guys are just getting in, let me know who's here. Leave a comment and get those likes going. That's what YouTube wants to see. They want to see those likes. All right. Yeah, and leave me a comment too. Who do you guys got going as we're on the MLB subject? Who do you guys got winning it all? It's hard to, I know it's chalky, but I mean, boy, this might be one of the best rosters of all time constructed that the Dodgers have coming up. Okay, but let's look into this game. Yeah, the Queen's ticket for sure. Yeah, not today though. They got killed. So I don't know the best time to go live like this. But yeah, I'm just waiting for a few more people. We'll get it running. We'll just go through the board. This won't be like my full best bets, my pick stuff. We're gonna have some changes coming with that. But I want to share with you guys kind of where my head's out because these numbers do move a lot. Okay, they do move a lot. And as I was doing some of my early research, kind of came up with some few kind of early kind of where my head's at early. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you guys. All right. So let me pull this stuff up. I was just looking at DK. Here we go. Boom. All right. So we're gonna pull up kind of what we have going on. We'll go full screen with it a little bit more. And that's kind of what we want right here. There we go. That'll work. Okay. So yeah, let's get it going. Jeff, thanks for being a channel member too, by the way, man. Appreciate you. So let's look at this a little bit. We are going to go into the outlier as always, see where the early money is. Give you some premium looks into kind of these games and the odds we got going. So let's pull up the NCAA. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because it is going to be kind of weird. There we go. Yeah, we got this game tomorrow with Bradley in Chattanooga. I'm going to be taking a strong look at Bradley here. I know they're a short favorite, but kind of interesting these tournament games. You just have to bet with morale, and it usually is profitable. Okay, but the first game that we're going to talk about, I mean, before we get down into the numbers, as we look at BYU and Alabama, I mean, let's just talk about kind of both of these teams. I was probably one of the only people in the camp that I just said Alabama is going to be Alabama, and I just didn't vibe with the whole St. Mary's matching them tick for tack with athleticism and just kind of that style of basketball. Wasn't kind of where my head was at. I know the picks don't usually vibe when you take an Alabama spread. It usually does not vibe when you get an Alabama cover a spread more than just a point or two, and then it also goes to the under. You don't get that quite often. Alabama's a great over team, and I think that was one of the probably biggest decisions where the books really cleaned up on was taking the over with Alabama. But we were on that 149.5, and that was one that definitely got cashed. You gotta love. I call it pride. So if you guys want to jump on the bandwagon, we're rooting for unders. We got those under tickets. Final minute, they put the seniors in. You just gotta, people. It probably would scare some of the neighbors, but sometimes depending on how much money I have wagered, I just pride. You just got to say pride and just scream at the TV. It works every time, and then they do hold out the ball till time expires. But it's a little bit of a fun little nugget with me. But anyways, let's look at this a little bit more. BYU, interesting thing about BYU, and I got to kind of, give respect to them. They were a team that I did favor. I just kind of bet against them in round one in that first matchup. And, it's a shame. I think BYU and I think that matchup that we did get with the Cougars was a great one personally. And I think that a lot of people probably thought that Wisconsin matchup, that's more of a game that you expect in Sweet 16, Elite 8. They had to play each other in the second round. So glad we got to see it. Glad we get to see now BYU, Alabama. And I think right now, if we look at the odds board, guys, do not be scared. There are a lot of rankings that do have BYU by the metrics. They are a top 5 team, a consensus top 5 team by the metrics. Okay, I know the competition drop off is there, but I think it's something too where you're going to have a line advantage because there's going to be a lot of public on the opposite side of BYU. Just calling what it is. People do not bet BYU football, college. It just football, basketball. I don't know if it's a Mormon thing, but just being honest with you guys, it's one of those weird teams in my personal opinion. Okay. But we'll look at some of the futures right now. Okay. And that's where we're going to see Florida still at plus 350. I actually don't think that's too bad a value. If we're being honest with ourselves. Okay. But Duke, I think my bracket's going to hold true. I have Houston and Florida, kind of just a fade against Duke. It wasn't because I didn't believe in Duke, but it was more so because everybody and their brother has Duke. And that's kind of where you kind of want to look for that advantage. But the winner's going to win. So if you need them, if they win it all, you're going to need them in your bracket. So keep that in mind. I do think it's worth a little flyer on this one, guys, to reach the national championship game, taking BYU 20-1. You could shop around for that. I do see some merit to that. All right. And that's kind of where I'm going to have to trust my numbers. BYU is a top 5 team by the numbers. If you take the logos off the jerseys, they are a top 5 team in college basketball. Futures is one of my strong suits. Sometimes we're talking about the Dodgers here at such short odds. Sometimes what you can do is if you have any free bets, I'll never tell you guys what to bet, but I've had a lot of success hitting over 100-1 tickets. 175-1. I've hit a couple like this, and it always gives you the great opportunity to hedge out of it. But you can hedge your way out of having a lot of championship future tickets parlayed together. Okay, call it a sucker bet, whatever. But I've done extremely well with it, and it can start right now. And kind of the way I do it is, I'll go major sport to major sport in championship kind of rotation. Baseball is probably the hardest. I try to stay away from baseball, but I think this year it's going to be a little bit lopsided. The AL is a crapshoot, and then it's a little bit top heavy there in the NL, in my personal opinion. And I just don't think anybody matches up in a 7-game series against the Dodgers, especially with Ohtani's arm back in the fold. So keep that in mind. But it is hard to repeat. But the way I look at it is you take 3 teams, 2-3 teams. So if you want, it's kind of like betting horses, right? So think of it like a horse trifecta. If you want to look at it like that, take 3 leaders at the top. So go college basketball. It's like you're making a trifecta and you're wheeling picks, but each leg of that trifecta, each runner in that race is a different championship. So that's the bet I like to do. And right now we're kind of in that juicy zone. As long as it's plus money, you're good. So I don't really see any value with taking to reach the final with these short numbers. Maybe I think that you get better odds if you just kind of roll over your straight bets until each round until they get there. Personally, but if you look at the championship and you want to go Duke, 2-1 is not bad. You're not going to get 2-1 in the final. But Duke would have to get through Houston, so maybe I'm anti-Auburn, but I think right now the safer bet's going to be taking Florida, maybe Florida Duke, maybe Florida Duke Houston. Take those 2 3-1s, stack it with the Dodgers, 4-1. Stack it with college football. I mean, look at the quarterbacks, look at the preseason, kind of where it's at. And I think you can get a nice, maybe NFL, maybe hockey. You pick 3-4 major professional sports, college, and you pick the championships and you kind of wheel those picks and you have 12 tickets, say 12 tickets for $50. It's a $600 ticket. And if you hit it, it's probably going to pay over 100-1. So just a little thing I do. I know it's a little off topic, but wanted to share that with you guys because I am starting to look into that. I'm going to wait till after the Sweet 16 though. Because I think that if I get some confidence behind Michigan State or BYU, I think I might be running with them a little bit deeper. Maryland, my future is still live with them. And I'll tell you right now, guys, call it for what it's worth. The numbers don't back them up, but Michigan to reach the final 30-1 is not that bad. Michigan State 850, even Bama 6-1. I mean, to reach the final, these are some good numbers we're getting. Okay, another edge on the futures there is you look at the field. Okay. If you would have taken this before the tournament, I gave out this pick, taking the SEC versus the field. That was a great opportunity, minus 140. Not only does it give you great odds and a lot of value, because you're going to get Auburn, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, just to name a few. Now we have Ole Miss, kind of shocking the world. But alongside that, it does give you better odds that if you want to hedge out of that, you just lock in some profits, take some easy money, okay? And that's kind of how I feel about it. The Duke versus the field, good luck. I think right now you could still get SEC versus the field minus 130. It's not that bad of a bet. It really isn't. It's really not that bad of a bet. Okay. I kind of like Houston versus the field 5-1. That's kind of just taking Houston to win it all. Outside of that, guys, it's kind of just murky a little bit. But if you get in this thing, Duke and Auburn versus the field minus 155, they give you Auburn as a bonus. But other than that, dude, you're just taking Duke, basically, in my opinion. It gives you Auburn, but I think you're better off taking Duke, even to reach the Final Four at minus 185. I think you're getting better odds than taking them to win it all at minus 155. Bong Tokes in the house. What's up, man? But anyways, let's just recap a little bit. Like I said, guys, one of my worst days overall, 0-5. Haven't done that in a long time, college basketball. But we did rebound nicely. Finished the 4-day stretch, 7-9 ATS totals. So, it's salvageable. That's why you should never bet more than 5% of your bankroll on a single bet. Money management. Okay, you can afford to hit those 0 for 5 days. Round robins, whatever you want to do. If you guys are parlayers, some people are, you can't talk them off that ledge. There are ways to do it to be profitable. I will tell you that. And, not chasing. Sometimes you get these big stretches on a Saturday or on a Sunday or even Thursday, Friday, take off work, you start a couple drinks, you want to chase your losses, keep going to the next game, the next game, the next game. That's an easy recipe for destruction. Okay. If you're good at it and your numbers are right, then yeah, you're going to do well. But pressing and chasing more times than not never really ends well. Okay. But for me, guys, it was a salvageable weekend. I hit a couple parlays. I went 7-9 ATS. It's not the worst in the world. And if you rode me for all 16 of those picks, then yeah, you lost money. But if you trusted the process, it's not that much. Okay. And then if you take it for what it's worth and you missed a day, say you missed that Friday where it went 0 for 5, you take the 0 for 5 out of the equation, and that's a 7 out of 4 or 7-4 ATS and totals out of 11 picks. So, it's just one bad day that kind of weighed me down, but overall it was still a profitable weekend. And let me tell you a secret. I wasn't even upset because my numbers were right. I still think my reads were correct. I trust my process and I stand by my picks. Sometimes you just lose. And there's a lot of people that, undoubtedly are unwavering with support. And I appreciate you guys, but there's a lot of people out there that were a little bit full of hate. And it's not good. You want to have positive vibes. And I appreciate it because it does kind of kick me in the butt and get my mind going. But sometimes, you I will tell you this. I can guarantee over the last 2-3 weeks, those people have basically lost more money than they've won if they were fading me. I'll just leave it at that. And I do have my record. I'm working on a way to have that spreadsheet accessible to you guys in live, kind of in a live fashion. That's going to be part of the website that I'm unveiling. It's going to be some kind of Google Doc or something that's going to update as we go. And yeah, I mean, even the days where I did give out picks, Thursday, for example, 4-2 ATS, lost the first game. I mean, you just have to relax. And then you take into consideration some of the leans. I can tell you guys one thing. I'm in a very big cash game for my bracket. One bracket, big payouts. I was in first place after day one. Okay. I missed like two games. My whole bracket, straight up money lines. All right. Everything was right. Okay. Sometimes you just get some bad beats. Okay. I trust my process. I stand by it. And yeah. But let's get back in this action because there are a lot of games I want to talk about. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Bong Tokes, yeah, man, that parlay you sent me. I can't pull it up on my desktop or laptop, or Mac, whatever. But yeah, I was reeling with you. Needed UC San Diego myself in that first half. Hey, I think a lot of people, by the numbers, Michigan potentially shouldn't even be in this tournament. Okay. That's just how I feel about them. And you look at the last game that Michigan played, they edged out Texas A&M. Texas A&M was like 30th in the whole college basketball field. Okay. So that's out of like 300 plus teams in the metric that Michigan is basically dead last. And that in itself is worth me taking a bet on Texas A&M. And, Texas A&M had a 7-point lead. A lot of those losing tickets I had, those teams were up late in the game. And they just, for whatever reason, Texas A&M was up 7-10 points in the second half deep and ended up losing by like 12. So, stuff happens. Okay. But truthfully, guys, if you're grinding out the units and you're not going, you're not going out of control and you're betting 5% of your bankroll, a loss is a loss is a loss, but we're going to win more than we lose. Okay. So let's get into these games. Let's talk about the first one. I am going to use OUTLIER to show you guys kind of what's going on in my head. Yeah, Colorado State. There you go. I mean, I was on Maryland, but Maryland could have covered that game very easily. And actually, it should have went to overtime. The kid traveled at the end of the game. Let's just be honest with ourselves. But the refs and the officiating in the St. John's game really did bug me. It boggled me down. St. John's is a better team. St. John's should still be advancing. Look at their shooting percentage. Okay, that's very uncharacteristic for a team that lost like 2 games in the whole Big East play. 4 games overall, and 2 of them came non-conference early in the season. So, there was a couple games that really did scratch your eyes, but overall, it was a chalky kind of a weekend. Okay, there was a lot of chalk that rolled. I typically stay away from chalk especially in March Madness and in college basketball overall. And that's kind of what we had going on. Okay. Overs also hit, pretty decent, which normally should be under. But yeah. And then Rich, we gave out Oregon 4.5, and that's value. I mean, Arizona could have won that game by 16, but we hit the back door. The free throws worked out at the end of the game. And that final 2 minutes really does tell the story sometimes for a lot of these bets. So, yeah, I mean, but the handicap, the analysis, spot on. One team that I want to give kind of kudos to is UConn. Really wasn't expecting them to do what they did. And BYU, yeah, I mean, love Wisconsin in that game. Love the under. But or I'm sorry, the over and that cash, that was the stronger play. It is just kind of what it is. Sometimes you just don't get the ball to fall your way. So let's look at this first game, BYU and Alabama. Now I will do a video tomorrow where I break down. I'm actually probably going to get it out tonight, where it's going to be more in depth. But this is going to be off the cuff. I haven't ran my numbers yet, but we're going to look at the point spreads opening up. BYU and Alabama. Like I said, guys, BYU is a top 5 team. There's a lot of databases that have them top 5. You just have to take the logos off the jersey sometimes. And this is a game where I really do not see a way that this does not go over. Okay. Everybody and their brother is going to be betting the over. BYU, if you watch them during the course of the season, the game that sticks out to me the most is that performance they had against Kansas. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they could score 100 points in this Alabama game. They are for real. They can shoot the 3 ball very well. Alabama struggles to guard the perimeter, and they get up and down the court. I think they're going to be able to have their way down low against BYU. It's going to be a back and forth game, very, very similar to kind of how I think that if this game doesn't get to the 170s, I don't know what to tell you. This is almost, you have to take the over. I'm probably more of an Alabama backer than most. It's just a very hard style of basketball to keep up with. Okay. I think that anytime you take Alabama to win a basketball game, unless they're going against Florida or Tennessee that can play defense and kind of adapt, uh, you know, even Auburn, right? I still think Alabama, I have them ranked a little higher than Auburn personally, but that's just how I see it. That's how I'm calling it. I just don't see a way. I mean, 175.5. I know we're getting the back end of 170. If it was 174.5, probably a little better of a number, but I just don't really see a way that this does not over 175.5. I think both teams get into the high 80s, and if not, and the one thing else I'll tell you guys, Maryland was almost the first one. I don't think we've had an overtime game this whole postseason. So very interesting kind of little nugget for you guys. Also, I do agree with Joshua in this one. Yeah, I told you guys, BYU top 5 power ranked team for me in college basketball. They're live. They're live. The one thing that I will tell you, though, this is at the Prudential Center, okay? And Alabama travels. BYU travels well, too, but this is in New Jersey. So I think both of these teams will be kind of, it's the first game. I think BYU's live. I think it's a neutral enough that they're going to have kind of a home advantage. It's going to be a neutral. And if we look at the numbers on a neutral, BYU's 11-7 ATS, Bama's 12-8 ATS. Personally, I would stay away from the side in this game unless you want to get a piece of that BYU money line. I just personally like the total more so. Okay. One thing worth noting about these totals, okay, both of these teams are 60+% to the over, okay, on a neutral. All right. I think that when you look at BYU 16-8, that's a statistic and trend that kind of stands out against me. 16 out of 24 games going over the total when it's over 145 points. Interesting though, when there's 4 days plus of rest, it's a 50-50 split basically for both of these teams. So, but by my numbers, I think on a neutral, the bad defense, the poorest defense by Alabama. I know they're going to be playing well. The only thing that worries me is Alabama goes cold every once in a while. And I think that, for my money, it's going to be BYU money line and the over, but the over is definitely the play I'm looking at. And I just kind of shocked that the public is actually taking the under early on. So it's going to be interesting to see if this number rises. If the number rises, you better get on it earlier. Yeah, Ole Miss, I don't know how long they're going to maintain shooting the three ball like they are. Okay, I'm just being honest. I'm a numbers guy. 4 days of rest, that does cool you off a little bit. They might regress. I know a lot of people think that they are, live against Michigan State, but I'll tell you guys one thing. I like Michigan State. I know a lot of people don't like them, but I like Michigan State in this game. I think that the 4 days of rest helps Michigan State more. I think it hurts Ole Miss more. I think that Ole Miss might have some regression. And I think the style of basketball Michigan State plays, this is a game that I think that they pull away late. Bong Tokes, I don't play player props in college. I just don't. The one thing I'll tell you guys is that the Johnny Broom stuff for Auburn is a little bit inflated. He's been going under his number a lot, even going back to the regular season. So maybe fading him. But outside of that, I mean, Sears going over, he's always going to have, his touches are just super high. But I don't. It's also a geographical thing. I can't bet it unless I go offshore. Yeah, Rich. I think a lot of people lost in Illinois. I had a little small piece on them in a parlay because I didn't know why they were favored either. Kentucky's healthy now. Yeah, not the biggest Zach Edey fan. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Okay, but let's look into this next game. Maryland, Florida. This is another track meet I'm waiting to see. Maryland played a pretty poor 2 games. I think kind of if you put it all together, lucky to advance. 155 by my numbers is a little bit low, but I think that you do see this game going over. But if Florida plays a defensive game like they did against UConn, this game could go under. I worry about Florida having that wake up call and that this one just gets ugly. I just think they might be able to stifle Maryland on the perimeter. They just match up better. I could see Florida getting out and just never relinquishing a lead. Personally, if Maryland's gonna have to shoot the 3 very, very efficiently to hang in with a 6.5 point spread, that's kind of why I would lean over in this as well. Shocking that we're seeing public money on the under again. Just being honest. So probably the same handicap. Early one would be with Florida and the over. Okay. Bong Tokes, we talked about this to reach the final. Michigan State's plus 850. But yeah, I'm with you, Josh. I have Florida winning it all in my bracket. That's kind of where I'm at. So, I have Florida, Houston in my final. Yeah, it's I think I'm 100% in agreement with you. I think that Florida had their little wake up call, their scare, and we're going to see a very inspired performance. I think where Florida gets back on that horse because I do think they're the most dominant team in the field outside of Duke. And while we're on it, let's talk about it. Arizona and Duke. Okay. Very, very crazy. The numbers Duke's putting up. I still think they could win the whole tournament without Cooper Flag. I truly do. You see this game right here, 153.5. Duke's laying -9. I think that number is still low. I probably would early on. I probably would lean on Duke. They cover the number no matter what it is. Double digits is no problem for them. And, if it's any indication, Arizona giving up that lead to Oregon, I think that tells you something. Okay. For me, guys, though, I think that this is something where, I just look at the amount of games in a row that they were able to win by 10 points or more. It's very hard to not take Duke -9 in this spot. So early on, we're seeing the numbers, the money agree with us. We're getting it. We'll see if we get 9.5 on the board. But I think that they had a little bit easier of a road than Florida, personally. I just call it what it is. I think I'd rather play Baylor than UConn. That's just kind of how I feel about it. But it's really hard not to take Duke -9, just being honest. Next game, we get to see Calipari back in action. Well, we'll talk Razorbacks, Texas Tech. I think Arkansas now becomes everybody's diaper dandy. The 10 seed in the field, the only, the lowest seed I think remaining, and it hasn't been like that. So maybe it's an NIL kind of thing. They're just poaching the top talent from the more mid-major schools, the lower conferences in terms of tier. I could see Arkansas, being that very public dog now. And 5.5 points is a lot. But I was on Arkansas money line plus 175 first round. Second round, I went against them, took St. John's, but this is kind of hard. Texas Tech, I love Texas Tech. Love Texas Tech, but I can tell you one thing. They will not shoot the three ball like St. John's shot it. And if you would have told me by that box score in the St. John's Arkansas game that it was that close and that basically the game was tied and they only lost 75-66 and that St. John's had the lead at one point with how bad their box score was, I would have told you guys that there was no way that St. John's lost that game. But there we are. We're watching Arkansas now advance. Really wanted to see Texas Tech and St. John's play personally, but I just think Tech is a very underrated team. Top to bottom, defense, rebounding, offense, 3 points, turnovers. This is something where you look at all the metrics. They're healthy. I think they're going to really have their way with Arkansas, and that we might see that narrative come to an end. And that's kind of where I would probably lend towards Texas Tech right now, -5.5. It's not an attractive number, winning by 6, but I can tell you one thing. Eventually, I think Arkansas does get outlasted. They do get healthier each round, getting their key player back, their best NBA prospect. I think that's something where it does help Arkansas, but it's going to be interesting because Arkansas is that trendy dog, but I think that the correct side will be with the Red Raiders in this spot. Okay. Just at first glance, these aren't my official plays. Ole Miss and Michigan State talked about a little bit more. Like I said, I think the big part about this handicap is Michigan State got their flaws out, worked out. I think that we saw a glimpse of that towards the end of the season. They dropped a few games late. Talking about that Auburn loss, talking about talking about that Wisconsin loss on the 15th, in the semis of the Big Ten championship, not playing, I guess, what we're used to. But before that loss against Wisconsin, they rattled off a lot straight, almost 10 straight. They lost to Indiana. And ever since then, guys, they've been winning some basketball games. But I just really don't see a way. I mean, this is kind of where I hate to be chalky, but I just think Michigan State rolls in this game. If you gotta make me bet it, we'll see if I actually play it. But first glance, I just think Michigan State right now, 23-10 ATS. I just love the way they play. They got 5 guys that can all kind of want the ball, command the ball. In those big moments. And I think that's the one thing Ole Miss doesn't have. And the way Michigan State plays 3-point defense, I just don't know if this is a good matchup for Ole Miss, just being honest. Next game out there, Kentucky and Tennessee. Nice little SEC rematch. Okay, let's talk about kind of the regular season unfolding head-to-head. We look at kind of Kentucky versus Tennessee. 2-0 ATS. So that's something to keep in mind. But, it's very hard to not just kind of win 3 games in a row against somebody. Covering is a whole different animal. Okay. And that's where, you look at these games, we can go back, find it. Okay. Against Tennessee, against Tennessee, Kentucky won outright 75-64 as a 3.5-point dog, and they won 78-73 as a 10.5-point dog. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind. They won and covered 2 regular season appearances, and Tennessee's playing good ball. Okay. So this is something where you look into it. It almost makes you have to back Tennessee just because of the fact that if they can win 3 and cover 3 against Kentucky or against Tennessee, I mean, you got to just tip your cap. But I think that's not enough to make me handicap this game and just say, well, Tennessee won't lose and not cover 3 straight games against the Wildcats. So that's not enough for me to bet it, but it's enough for me to get my attention. If this was kind of like a dead heat and I like the number, that's enough to kind of push me over the edge. But at first glance, it's hard to bet against Tennessee. I want to see where the number heads. I think personally it might kind of drop a little bit. If we're being honest, Kentucky got even healthier. Um, this is going to be a fun one, but I do think Tennessee advances. I just don't think that at first glance the 4.5 is warranted right now. I think I'd have this game probably a little bit closer to a pick 'em, but I think this is something where it would not shock me if Tennessee end up winning by double digits. Um, Paxton, yeah, man, I agree with you. That was a rough second half for me. Josh, what is my thoughts with the Patino benching of RJ? Well, they asked him in a press conference, and he didn't respond too well against that question. So, what it comes down to though is he was not shooting it. I mean, St. John's, I think, was like, the 3 points shooting was just abysmal, and that was the negative knock on St. John's was if they couldn't shoot the three ball, they weren't going to do well in the tournament. You couldn't survive on that on defense alone, and they still basically, I think, still had a shot to win the game. So, um, yeah, it's bad. He was really, really bad. Best player on the court, though. I kind of hate to go against Rick Pitino, legendary head coach, Hall of Famer, but my best player would be on the court in a do or die game. If you're going to lose, you're going to lose with your best player out there. I think that's a little bit too much over coaching. I think that's just more of a, hey, we're going to call a timeout, get your stuff together, and big time players play. That's just where I'm at. Yeah, Paxton, loving Michigan right now. Well, we're going to talk about that game next. Michigan taking on Auburn. I love this spot because I'm not a big Auburn guy. But I told you guys last week against Creighton, okay? That was a sucker bet. Everybody was like, "Oh, Creighton just destroyed Louisville. They're going to bounce back, keep it going. You're giving them 10 points." That number really just did make me sick looking at it because I knew everybody and their brother was going to bet Creighton. Yeah, I see it. I know it's value taking all those points, but sometimes you got to go with the numbers. And there was a reason why. And I think Auburn pulling away is the same kind of thing that we could see today against Michigan. Michigan's played a lot of games in a row. Auburn kind of had an early exit. I know Johnny Broom's not doing well. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch those matchups with those 2 7-footers Michigan deploys. The way Michigan's going to play on the perimeter is really going to be the question mark of the game. Does Michigan make threes? And does Auburn match them if they do? That's going to be what it comes down to. But we're going to play a man-on-man kind of game. That style of basketball, I think Michigan could survive if Auburn does not shoot the ball well. That's why we've seen this number drop from, I think, 9.5, or all the way down to 8.5 as of now. And it's not sexy, but it's really hard to bet against the Wolverines right now with all the momentum. But I think it kind of falls similar to what we're seeing. I think this is another trendy dog. So I might wait for some buy down. And if I can get an 8 with Auburn, that's kind of where my first glance goes. I know I'm rolling a lot of chalk, but yeah, I just think that eventually this Michigan train's going to kind of run out of steam. But this is probably going to be a stay away game for me, just being honest. Unless I have some very sharp read on Auburn, I probably will stay away from this game. Purdue and Houston. This is going to be very interesting. 7.5 is exactly where I would have the number. I'm very high on Houston, higher than most. And I just think that it's going to be another clash of styles. I just don't think that Purdue has enough to hang with Houston. If Purdue's making threes and they're just raining from the outside, it's going to be hard. But I just think the difference with this Houston team is the fact that they can shoot the 3 ball well. Okay. Their big knock was great defense, highly athletic, physical team, can't shoot the 3 ball worth of crap. This year, different story altogether. They're well over 30% shooting the 3 ball. And I think in previous years, they were under that threshold. And that's kind of where I look at the Cougars here. I have them making the Final Four, or I have them making the Final Four and the finals. Okay. Losing to Florida in the championship. So higher than most. 7.5 is kind of right where I would have this number. So it's there's no edge for me based on my rankings. So it's kind of where you just think Houston's going to roll or they don't, and that's kind of what you have to bet with. The unders at 132.5. I'd expect this one being one of the lowest totals of the weekend, and that's what we get. We get 132.5. So I would probably venture to go under this. Houston's, defensively, they've been a great under team, but they've been kind of getting the ball. They've been kind of getting a lot of scoring affairs, more so than the numbers do indicate. So that's kind of where I agree with Paxton. It comes down to the officiating. If they let them play kind of that phone booth kind of style of basketball, and it becomes a cage match, Houston's going to absolutely destroy and dismantle Purdue. If they call tic tac fouls, Purdue gets a lot of shots off from the outside. They make their shots. This one could go a little bit, it could be a little more closer to than we want to see. But I do think he advances, and I'd be shocked if I personally would be shocked if Purdue covers. But I that's just kind of my early read on this game. Okay, next one we're gonna get into. Well, we won't talk about these, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the entire Sweet 16. I think we broke it all down, eight games. So yeah, with that, I'll open up the comments. What do you guys got for me? I don't really quite have that play that I'm in love with. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Probably maybe the over in BYU Alabama. It's tough for me. Maybe Florida laying it, but I'm higher. I'm higher on Maryland than most. I have a futures ticket, so I'm a little convoluted in that regard. I think laying it against Arizona, I think that's a very strong bet personally. And like I'm kind of fading all the storylines, and I'm a big fan of Texas Tech as well. So we'll see. But I think another strong play we can look at is if we do believe that Ole Miss is fake. That's kind of where it lends me to believe that maybe Michigan's, they get in a tournament style of game, running out the clock. I could see this game going under 144.5, personally. So I kind of lean under and Sparty in that regard. Talk about that in a second. Not a big fan of the NIT. It's easy to bet because of morale. Half the teams in NIT don't want to be there, and then the ones that are there, they're maybe not deserving of it. So it's very interesting here in NIT. There are I'm not going to handicap each game per se, but I do look for spots, and then if there is a spot, I will make a bet on the NIT or the CBI or whatever they got going on. Yeah, that would be an interesting one for sure. But yeah, I hate to say it, guys. I love chalk in the Sweet 16. I hate to say it, but it's kind of where I'm at. I'm kind of rolling in the chalk, which is interesting because we've seen kind of the favorites do really well, ATS and straight up through the first two rounds. So usually when that does happen, the books kind of make it a little bit tougher to do that. So yeah, Padula's a dog, man. He's a really good guard. I haven't seen him play like that though, throughout the course of the regular season. Kind of, he reminds me of like a little bit of got a little AI in him. Very reminiscent of the dude that was on the Lakers. I'm drawing a blank right now with his name. Got traded off the Lakers, but I think they just got him back. Help me out with that one. Um, I think I'm looking at I don't want to say Austin Reeves, Alex Caruso. That's who he reminds me of. Reminds me a lot like Alex Caruso. The reason why you're more worried about Michigan State is because they played an abysmal first half, and they arguably should have lost to Nevada or New Mexico. Uh, Yeah, I hate to say that, guys. I really do like the favorites. Just early indications, but yeah, excited for baseball kick back up for sure. Um, Hearing a lot of win total stuff. I think this one's kind of a weird season, preseason. If we're being honest. Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, Paxton. That's kind of where I'm at with that Bama game. I just, a lot of people are fading BYU, thinking they can't repeat. I think it's a bad matchup for Alabama. Um, Personally, just because they play bad defense at what BYU does well, and BYU, like I said, they're a top 4 team, so they're not going to be playing out of class. But yeah, Tuesday, I'm looking forward to that Chattanooga Bradley game more so than North Texas Oklahoma State. But I probably would early on lean on Bradley, and I would go with North Texas in that game. Oklahoma State's god awful. I'm sorry, they're just really bad. I don't know how they're favorites in that game, but I think Bradley would be my pick right now to win on NIT. Um, I don't know if this is if I remember this being you, but I don't know if you were around last baseball season, but you're not the only person who has kind of had some negative energy about the Cardinals. Um, yeah, it's just tough, man. They just they got a lot of things going on roster wise, but they got a lot of holes. But I don't want to start talking baseball, but you guys kind of got me in the mood. Yeah, is oh god, I got to start doing that. That's crazy. I'm not ready for it though, Rich. That adds a lot of work to my schedule. I'm ready for it, but I'm not ready for it. Uh, Thursday's opening day, right? Um, I grew up an Indians fan, so I root for the tribe. It's gonna be a great couple marquee games Thursday while we're on it. Atlanta, San Diego, New York, Mets, Astros. You get to see Skewball pitch against the Angels or the Dodgers. That'll be good. That'll make the prime time slot. Um, Philly, Washington. That's going to be a good matchup. Kind of, it should be, just because of the whole Bryce Harper thing. But Philly could blow them out. Philly on the road, though. We'll see if they act like last year. Ugh. Got some ugly games too. Pittsburgh, Miami, Angels, Chicago. We'll see if the White Sox are that bad. I think they will be. Yeah, Josh, let's not bring that up. Let's not bring that up. Um, yeah, so that's about it. So yeah, I just want to kind of quickly run through those games because these numbers, they won't move as much, but they will still move. There's going to be a couple games you're going to see 2 points off a total, 3 points off a total. Yeah, so I'm still working on it. I'm hoping to get this website up by Thursday. Might be a long shot, but I'm going to change things up a little bit, just to be more kind of, um, have some more offerings. Also, I do want to start making some premium plays, all that good stuff. I still won't charge for picks. I still give out nothing will change in that regard, but I won't say which ones are my go-tos. And then I just want to open up some access to me and make that part of the premium way of doing things. Kind of what I do with my channel memberships right now, but a little bit different, just more value. Yes, Paxton. I said that you probably weren't logged on. I said the exact same thing. They're poaching a lot of the top tier guys from the lower tier conferences, and it's really having the effect where we may never see another. I mean, the lowest seed right now in the Sweet 16 is a 10 seed. That hasn't happened in a long time. But we knew this coming in the tournament. This was a very top heavy bracket. I mean, I've been saying all year, there's 4 to 6 teams that could win it all. And that number might actually be like 1 to 3. So, but yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here. If nobody has anything else, appreciate you guys. We've been going an hour live here. That's been awesome. Juan loves some Maryland money line. I could get down with that. I'm higher than most on Maryland. But yeah, so if you guys are all new here, you know the deal. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I will put my official plays out probably tomorrow. And then, yeah, got some great games to watch. I'm more excited for Thursday's games than Fridays. So we'll see who the TBAs are um, for the Saturday, Sunday slate. But we're going to have 4 great games over the weekend. Looking forward to them. Kind of just let me eyeball this a little bit. I got to find the bracket. Let me pull up this bracket real quick. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully we get. I would love to see. I would love to see Duke, Alabama, Duke, BYU. That's going to be a great one. I think Houston, Tennessee will be a great one if we get that. Um, kind of Florida, whoever plays Florida or Maryland. I'm not really, not saying if it was St. John's, Florida, that'd be hype. But without that, not really too intrigued with that. I think Florida rolls. But other than that, guys, it's going to be probably, maybe if we get Michigan State, that'd be hype, especially all the people there. A lot of people in the channel are pulling for Michigan and Sparty. So, but yeah, guys, enjoy the evening. I'm gonna get signing off here. I got some work to do, and we'll be back. Like I said, turn on notification bell so I do drop my video tomorrow for the Thursday action. You guys are the first ones to get it. And yeah, good luck. We'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace.